Marks 1 year since the Francis Scott Key Bridge collapsed in Baltimore. 6 construction workers were killed last year after a massive cargo ship hit the bridge, knocking it down. Today we're hearing from the first tugboat captain to respond to that collapse. Nicole Skanga has his story.
If it comes through the port of Baltimore, chances are tugboat captain David Jers has pushed it or pulled it.
The whole bridge just collapsed.
But on the morning of March 26th, the unthinkable happened.
Of course, as we got out there, you realized there was no bridge left. The bridge had fallen.
As the sun rose above the wreckage, reality set in for the 43-year veteran of the Chesapeake Bay.
What was it like the first time you saw that bridge clean off?
It was a surreal feeling. I mean, it was like an out-of-body experience. It really was. Your mind wouldn't let you accept that it was gone, after all these years.
It was this tugboat that helped guide the Dolly out of its berth here in Baltimore, then raced back after the container ship lost power.
Some days you do no job, sometimes you do 15.
And some days?
Some days something like this happens, which are far and few between.
But just how few and far between is the subject of a new study just miles away from Captain Jers' pier.
The probability of collapse given collision is
compiled by Johns Hopkins University and led by Dr. Michael Shields.
Was what happened at the Key Bridge an aberration?
It wasn't an aberration. No, it was not an aberration at all.
Engineers scoured through hundreds of millions of data points to analyze the traffic under 200 bridges nationwide. Among the most vulnerable, the Chesapeake Bay Bridge, just 20 miles south of where the Key Bridge once stood.
It's a very, very high traffic area, one of the most highly trafficked shipping channels in the nation.
The study found several bridges are likely to be hit by a ship within about 20 years, with few protections or barriers around the piers.
If you look at the top 10 bridges in our list, most of them have an expectation of less than once every 50 years. When you put all of that together, you start to realize that we should expect these events every 5 years or so.
Some of the nation's busiest bridges will be hit within our lifetime.
I would expect that, absolutely.
Compounding the problem, massive ships and congestion at the nation's largest ports, with the U.S. supply chain outpacing bridge design.
When the Key Bridge was designed and built in the 1970s, it was seeing ships that were much, much smaller.
It's a challenge Captain Jers has witnessed.
The ships keep getting bigger and the tugboats keep getting bigger also to handle them.
One he says the next generation of tugboaters will tackle when day breaks over the new Francis Scott Key Bridge.
Nobody really sees what's happening in our industry, unless there's something like this happens, catastrophic, unfortunately. But, every port in the country in the world has tugboats 24/7. They're running when you're sleeping.
State officials say the new Key Bridge, which is scheduled to be completed in 2028, will come with modern safeguards, but it will also be built nearly 50 feet higher, allowing even taller ships to port here in Baltimore. That's something Dr. Shields tells us comes with even greater risk. Nicole Skanga, CBS News, Baltimore.